Vietnamese music is a harmonious blend of tradition and modernity, rooted in a long history of cultural development. It reflects the soul of the Vietnamese people, their struggles, celebrations, and aspirations. For audiences in the US, the UK, Australia, and other English-speaking countries, exploring the music of Vietnam offers a profound insight into the country's rich cultural tapestry, providing an auditory journey through time, from the ancient royal courts to the lively rhythms of modern pop. Traditional music, a reflection of regional diversity. Vietnamese traditional music varies across its regions, with the North and the South each developing their own distinct styles. In the North, classical music holds the title of the oldest musical form in Vietnam. It is formal, deeply tied to rituals, and reflects the history of the region. The roots of Vietnamese classical opera, Tuong, trace back to the 13th century during the Mongol invasions, when a captured Chinese opera troupe influenced the birth of this art form. Throughout history, Vietnam's music has been shaped by external influences, particularly from China, but also from Japan, Korea, and Mongolia. Yet, despite these outside impacts, Vietnamese music has maintained its own identity, often blending foreign elements with local traditions to create something uniquely Vietnamese. Na Nac, the royal court music, stands as one of the most revered forms of Vietnamese traditional music. Once played in the imperial courts of the Nguyen dynasty, it reflects the grandeur and dignity of royal life. This music is intricate and ceremonial, meant to invoke a sense of reverence and awe. UNESCO has recognized Na Nac as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, underscoring its global cultural significance. On the other hand, northern Vietnam is also home to Chio, a form of satirical musical theater. Chio performances often include witty dialogue, humor, and social critique, offering the audience not only entertainment but also reflections on morality and society. It's a lively form of musical theater that speaks to the Vietnamese sense of community and storytelling. In the realm of folk music, Hot XAM, or XAM singing, stands out as a notable tradition. This type of folk singing was historically performed by blind street musicians, telling stories of daily life, hardship, and love. Its raw, emotive style has the power to connect listeners to the heart of Vietnamese folk culture. Southern music and the spirit of folk. Moving to southern Vietnam, the music takes on a slightly different flavor. In contrast to the more formal styles of the North, Southern folk music is vibrant and deeply intertwined with rural life. A prime example is Ho, a Southern counterpart to the Northern Quan Ho. Ho is often performed as call and response singing, traditionally used by farmers or fishermen as they worked. Its rhythms mirror the pulse of labor, making the work lighter while fostering a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. One of the most spiritual forms of Southern Vietnamese music is Hot Chow Van or Hot Van, a genre used during rituals to invoke spirits. This music accompanies the Hao Dong, spirit mediumship, ceremony, blending the spiritual with the musical to create a profound and immersive experience for both the performers and the audience. Hot Chow Van is characterized by its use of instruments like the Dan Noyet, moon lute, and Dan Bao, monochord, adding to its mystical sound. Instruments, the soul of Vietnamese sound. Vietnam's traditional music is rich not only in its vocal performances, but also in its use of unique musical instruments. Some of the most iconic include Dan Bao. This monochord zither produces a hauntingly beautiful sound with a single string. It's often played to evoke deep emotions and is closely associated with Vietnamese folk and traditional music. Dan Noyet, a two-stringed fretted moon lute, known for its mellow and resonant tones. It is a staple in both classical and folk music. Dan Gao, a two-stringed fiddle with a coconut body, often used in southern Vietnamese folk music. Its sound is distinctive and earthy, much like the rural traditions it represents. These instruments, among many others, are essential in defining the soundscape of Vietnamese music. They are not merely tools of music making but are imbued with cultural significance, representing the soul of the Vietnamese people. The evolution of music, from folk to modern. As Vietnam transitioned through the 20th century, so too did its music. The country's tumultuous history during the Vietnam War deeply influenced its musical landscape. In the North, red music became popular, with songs focusing on patriotism, sacrifice, and the collective struggle for independence. Meanwhile, in the South, yellow music emerged, often more emotional, melancholic, and focused on themes of personal loss and love. In the post-war era, the 1950s saw the rise of Nhạc đan ta Cải biên, or revised folk music. This genre represented a blend of traditional Vietnamese sounds with modern arrangements, bringing new life to old folk tunes and making them more accessible to younger generations. This effort to modernize traditional music has continued into the 21st century, with artists and musicians working to preserve Vietnam's musical heritage while introducing innovative elements. One of the most intriguing developments in Vietnamese music has been the rise of bolero, a genre that originated in Latin America but has been adapted to Vietnamese tastes since the 1930s. Vietnamese bolero is slower, more melancholic, and infused with local sensibilities, making it a beloved genre in Vietnam. The emotional depth of bolero songs often resonates with listeners, addressing themes of love, heartbreak, and longing. V-pop, the sound of modern Vietnam. In today's Vietnam, V-pop, Vietnamese pop music, has taken center stage, appealing to younger audiences and reflecting the global nature of contemporary music. Drawing influences from international genres like electronic, dance, and R&B, V-pop is vibrant and diverse, with artists like Sun Tung MTP, My Tom, and Dong Nhi leading the charge. These artists have gained massive popularity both within Vietnam and across the Vietnamese diaspora, showcasing the adaptability of Vietnamese music to global trends. What sets V-pop apart is its ability to incorporate Vietnamese traditional elements while embracing modern production techniques. It reflects the aspirations of a new generation, eager to engage with the world while staying connected to their cultural roots. Conclusion: a living, breathing tradition. Vietnamese music is a living art form, continually evolving while remaining deeply connected to its traditions. Whether through the grandeur of Na Nac, the earthy rhythms of Ho, or the modern beats of V-pop, Vietnamese music offers a rich and dynamic auditory experience. For audiences in English-speaking countries, exploring the musical traditions of Vietnam is a journey into the heart of a nation, one that reveals its historical depth, regional diversity, and modern vibrancy. Through its music, Vietnam tells the story of its people, their joys, struggles, spirituality, and resilience. It's a story that transcends language, inviting listeners from all over the world to share in the beauty and richness of Vietnamese culture.